Okay, so for this deep dive, we've got, well, it's kind of a puzzle. It seems like you guys have sent over two totally separate things.
Right.
We've got what looks like a computer log, you know, like a bunch of commands and stuff, and then there's this YAML file, and it looks like it's got it looks like it describes a children's story. So our job, I guess, is to try to figure out how those two things go together.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Is that you've got the technical side and then the creative side.
Yeah.
And trying to see, you know, where those two meet and how that kind of gives us a peek into how content gets made nowadays.
Right. Yeah. It's like seeing behind the curtain.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's start with the computer log.
Okay.
It shows a command that was run on March 31st, 2025 at 11.23.50 and 300 milliseconds to be exact.
Wow. Precise.
Right. And the command reads, Gemini Repo CLI KickServe SF kickwrite-story5.md. Now, I'm guessing most folks probably don't talk to computers in this language.
Right. It can look pretty cryptic.
Yeah. So maybe we should try to like break it down a little bit for anyone who isn't, you know, super familiar with command line stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm thinking that Gemini Repo CLI is probably
it's probably the tool, right?
Yeah, like the app.
Like if you were on your phone, instead of tapping on buttons, you type these instructions.
Yeah, exactly.
So Gemini Repo CLI is the thing you use to talk to this Gemini Repo thing, whatever that is.
Gotcha.
And then KickServe, I would imagine, is some specific function within that.
Like a job it's supposed to do.
Exactly. Yeah, some task that you want to run.
Okay.
The key. Pretty much always means here.
Okay.
So it's like saying, look in this current folder.
Like on your computer?
Yeah, exactly, for anything that it needs.
Okay.
And then the two single quotes, I'm guessing that's probably just like a placeholder for an option that wasn't needed.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's just empty.
So it's just there because it has to be.
Yeah, kind of like a grammatical rule.
Gotcha.
And then we see F kick.
Yeah.
So F often means file.
Okay.
Or it could be a filter in some cases.
Uh-huh.
And then kick.
That looks familiar.
Yeah, that is a wild card.
Right.
So it basically means anything that starts with kick.
So like kick and then anything after that.
Yeah, any file name that starts with kick.
So it's basically saying like, hey, KickServe, pay attention to any files in this folder that start with kick.
Exactly. Yeah, use those as input or guidance or something.
Like maybe those files have some ideas in them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like a starting point for the story or some instructions.
Gotcha.
And then finally we have writestory5.md.
Okay.
MD tells us it's a markdown file, which is just a simple text format.
Okay.
And I think it's pretty safe to assume that writestory5 is what they wanted to name the story file.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like saying, okay, take all this stuff, do your thing, and save the result as write-story5.md.
Right, like the output.
Exactly.
Okay, so basically what this command is saying is...
it's using the Gemini Repo tool,
right,
running the KickServe function, maybe using some kick files as input.
Yeah.
And then saving the result as a story file called write-story5.md.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and what happens next in the log is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So you see that first line, status, success, that just means the system got the command.
Okay.
It understood it.
Makes sense.
And then status, GeminiRepoAPI initialized successfully.
So that's like the engine's starting up.
Exactly. Yeah, all the behind-the-scenes stuff is getting ready.
Gotcha.
And then we get a crucial bit, model.
Yeah.
Gemini 2.0 Flash.
Okay.
This tells us which AI they used to make the story.
So that's the brain, basically.
Yeah, the specific model. And this was called Gemini 2.0 Flash.
Gemini 2.0 Flash.
That's the one.
Okay, and then things start to get a little bit more...
a little more technical?
Yeah, a little more in the weeds, I guess you could say. The log says AFC is enabled with max remote calls, 10.
Right.
And then AFC remote call 1 is done.
So AFC is probably automatic function calling.
Okay.
And what that means is sometimes the AI, you know, as smart as it is, it might need to phone a friend, so to speak.
Oh, interesting.
It might need to get extra info from somewhere.
Okay.
Or do some other task that's not its main job.
Right.
So AFC lets it reach out to other tools or services.
Okay.
And do that automatically as part of creating the content.
So it's like it knows it needs something.
Yeah.
But it can just go get it itself.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and the fact that a remote call happened and finished quickly
Uh-huh.
suggests that the AI probably grabbed some data or used another service right at the beginning.
So it's working even before it starts working, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. It's getting everything ready.
Okay, and then it looks like it actually talks to Google.
Right. We see the interaction with the Google Generative Language API. It's a specific website address, and it makes an HTTP POST request.
Okay, and I'm guessing that's like a technical way of saying it's asking for something?
Yeah, it's sending a request to that address, and the address is interesting. https://generativelanguage.googleopus.com/v1 beta models Gemini-2.0-flash.stream-generate-content.altsys.
Okay, I'm definitely not going to try to read that whole thing.
No worries.
But, so it's asking for something from that website address.
Right, and it gets a good response back. HTTP 1.1200. Okay.
Like a thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the important part of that address is the stream generate content,
Okay.
because that means the story wasn't created all at once.
It was like piece by piece.
Yeah, like a stream of data coming in bit by bit.
Oh, okay.
If you were watching someone draw line by line.
Gotcha.
And the altis is also interesting.
What's that?
Stands for service and events. Basically, it's a way for Google's API to keep sending data back as it becomes available.
Oh, okay, so it's not just like, here's the whole thing all at once.
Right, it's more like a conversation.
Huh. Interesting.
Back and forth.
Okay, so we've got this whole sequence of events.
Yeah.
It starts with the command,
Uh-huh.
wakes up the Gemini Repo system,
Right.
which then uses the Gemini 2.0 Flash AI, maybe grabs some extra info with AFC,
Yeah.
and then talks to Google's language API to actually make the story.
And all that happened in, like...
Just over 6 seconds.
Wow, that's crazy fast.
Yeah, the log shows the success message at 11.23.56 and 546 milliseconds.
That's wild.
Yeah, 6 seconds to go from a command to a fully generated story.
So then what happens?
Well, the last log entry says status, content printed to stout.
Which basically means...
It means the story was displayed as the output of the command.
Okay.
And we know from the beginning that it was also saved into that write-zarify.md file.
Right. So in about 6 seconds, you go from command to AI to content to save file.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Okay, so let's finally look at the YAML file.
Okay, yeah, let's see what this AI came up with.
Right, this is the actual story.
The creative output.
Exactly.
So at the top, we have title, The Magical Treehouse Adventure.
Okay, I like it already.
Yeah, sounds promising.
Uh-huh.
And then a short description. 2 siblings discover a magical treehouse that takes them on an unexpected adventure.
Okay, so it understood what kind of story it was supposed to make.
Right, it got the basic idea.
Uh-huh.
And then we see the speakers.
Who's talking in the story?
Exactly.
Okay.
We've got Lily, and her voice is set to "and female child."
Okay.
And Tom with the voice "Annis male child."
So, like, a little boy and girl?
Yeah, 2 kids.
Okay, what else?
Now, this is interesting.
What?
There's also a treehouse character,
Okay.
and its voice is "and robotic."
Oh, cool.
And then there's a dragon with Annis male monster.
Wow, so it even knows what kind of voice a dragon should have.
Yeah, it's pretty smart.
That's really cool.
Right.
Right.
It knows the dragons are usually male and monstrous.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the stereotype.
Right, right.
So it's using those assumptions to create the story.
Okay, so then what happens?
We get to the segments.
Okay.
These are the actual lines of dialogue.
And maybe some actions, too.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
So each segment tells us who's speaking, what they say.
Uh-huh.
And then there's this next gap milliseconds value.
Which is, like, how long to pause.
Yeah, exactly. How many milliseconds to wait before the next line.
Okay.
So, for example, the story starts with Lily saying, "Wow, Tom, look at that amazing treehouse."
Okay, and then there's a 200 millisecond pause
Exactly.
before Tom answers.
Yes.
So it's not just the words, it's like the timing of the story, too.
Exactly. It's thinking about the pacing and the rhythm.
Huh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's adding another layer of detail.
Right. Okay, and then what about those words in brackets?
Oh, yeah, like storybook +1 and inside +1.
What are those for?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing it's either a signal to emphasize those words.
Okay.
Like when the story is read out loud.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a flag for some other process
Uh-huh.
to add a sound effect or something.
Like a little whoosh sound when they go inside.
Exactly, yeah, something like that.
Okay, let's hear some more of the story.
All right, so after that first line, Tom says, "Whoa." It's like something out of a storybook +1.
Okay, so he's a little hesitant,
Yeah, bit unsure.
but then Lily's like, let's go inside +1.
She's eager.
Yeah, ready for an adventure.
Exactly. So what happens next?
Well, the treehouse actually talks.
No way, really?
Yeah. It says, "Greetings, adventurers. Welcome aboard." Awesome.
Right. It's like it's live.
Yeah, and I bet it sounds all like robotic and stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. With that robotic voice we saw earlier. It's got to be pretty cool.
Okay, and then what?
Well, the treehouse announces their destination. We are embarking on a journey to the land of sparkling crystals, +1.
Oh, the land of sparkling crystals.
Yeah, sounds magical.
Uh-huh.
And then Lily and Tom are like, wait, is that a real place?
Like arguing a little bit.
Yeah, a bit of sibling banter.
Exactly.
Okay, then what? Well, they're about to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom says, hold on tight, +1 Lily.
Oh.
And she's all excited. Whee! This is the best. +1.
So they're like flying through the air now.
Yeah, soaring through the sky.
Awesome.
They get to the land of sparkling crystals.
Uh-huh.
And Lily's just blown away. Wow. It's even more beautiful +1 than I imagined.
That's cool.
But then,
What?
she sees a dragon. Look! A dragon +1.
Oh, no.
And the dragon's not too happy. Who dares to enter my domain? +1.
I bet that sounds super scary with that monster voice.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what happens? Are they in trouble?
Well, Tom's worried. Uh-oh. I think we're in trouble, +1.
Uh-huh.
But Lily's got it handled. Don't worry, Tom. I have a plan, +1.
She's a brave one.
Yeah, she's not afraid.
So what's her plan?
She tries to talk to the dragon. Greetings, mighty dragon. We come in peace, +1.
Okay, good idea.
But the dragon's been alone for a long time. Peace. We haven't heard that word in ages, +1.
Ah, poor dragon.
Right.
So can they convince him to let them stay?
Well, they explain they just want to see the crystals.
Mm-hmm.
The dragon's still cautious, but he warns them about some ancient magic in the land.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, it's getting mysterious.
Okay, then what?
The treehouse chimes in. Proceed with caution, +1. The crystals are near.
So they're close to their goal.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's where this part of the story ends.
Yeah, the last line is Lily saying, let's go get those crystals, +1.
That's awesome.
Right. It leaves you wanting more.
Yeah, definitely.
So to kind of sum up what we've seen, that Gemini Repo CLI command was like the starting signal.
Yeah.
It told the Gemini 2.0 Flash AI to make a children's story.
Right.
And it came up with the characters, their voices, the dialogue.
Even the pauses.
All in about 6 seconds.
It's amazing how much detail it created.
Yeah, it's not just spitting out random words. It's actually creating a structured narrative.
And it's all in that YAML format, right?
Exactly, which makes it easy for computers to understand.
So it's a super efficient way to make content.
Yeah. It's almost like writing code.
Instead of, sitting down with a pen and paper.
Exactly.
And it makes me wonder about those Kick files.
Right. What was in those?
Yeah, because it obviously got the idea of a magical treehouse from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Kick isn't in the story itself.
That's true.
Maybe they had, some keywords or a basic concept.
Yeah, something to guide the AI.
It's pretty wild that it can create something so detailed from just a few hints.
Yeah, it shows how powerful these models are.
So basically what we've seen is that you can use a command line tool to talk to a really smart AI.
Right.
And tell it to make a children's story.
With all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. And it can do it in just a few seconds.
It's impressive stuff.
It really makes you think about the future of, creative work.
Absolutely.
Like, what if everyone could just tell an AI what they wanted to create?
And have it done almost instantly.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It is, and it raises so many questions, like
Yeah.
what are the limits of this technology?
Right, and what does it mean for people who, actually write stories for a living?
Those are big questions.
Yeah, they are.
But they're worth thinking about.
Definitely.
So maybe you'll find yourself wanting to explore other AI tools. Or maybe you'll dive deeper into how models like Gemini 2.0 Flash actually work.
Yeah, it's a whole new world out there.
It really is.
Well, thanks for walking us through all of this. It's been fascinating.
My pleasure.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
That's what we like to hear.
I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way.
Hopefully so.
And who knows, maybe we'll revisit this topic again sometime in the future.
I'm sure there'll be plenty more to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
The world of AI is moving fast.
That's for sure.
So stay tuned, everyone.
And thanks for listening.